I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
And what's up, y'all, and welcome to yet another episode of the yet-to-be-named MCU podcast, brought to you from the good folks at ForAllNerds. As you know, this is the podcast where we are discussing WandaVision from the perspective of people of color. And as always, it's your boy, DJ Benhameen, a.k.a. Basie Basim, a.k.a. Brother Voodoo Child, a.k.a. I'm dreaming of a white vision, a.k.a. Black Adam Warlock. We here. I'm dreaming. Yeah. You know,
congratulations. That was great.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We here. And as always, I'm joined by
Tatiana King, the Grand Duchess of Tech, also known as Agatha. Darkness is spreading. You got to put the stank on the darkness.
Yep, there you go. The big stank on it. The stank on the darkness. And we are here, as y'all know, everybody, longtime listeners, new folks just joining us. This is, For All Nerds. We bring you a WandaVision podcast every Monday morning. You can also catch us on twitch.tv. That's twitch.tv/ForAllNerds. You can catch the live broadcast every Monday at 3 p.m., 2 p.m. We still working out the time. It might get earlier because we mad late right now.
That's why I'm saying just say Monday.
Just Monday.
It's coming out Monday. Y'all know it's coming out Monday no matter what.
And if you're following us, on Instagram, on Twitter, at ForAllNerds, you would know what time because we constantly update over there. So you can always find out the info, the news, everything else. Make sure you're following us. Twitch.tv/ForAllNerds, Instagram and Twitter at ForAllNerds. Everywhere, There you go. Yeah.
Everywhere. And today we're here to talk episode 4 of WandaVision, titled We Interrupt This Program.
Yep.
It's directed by, as usual, Matt Shakman. Teleplay by Jack Schaefer, who this is the woman who really is the showrunner for the series.
Yep.
And the other writers include Babak Esfarjani, Megan McDonald, and Cameron Squires.
There you go. And you want to run down the basic plot?
Yeah. So the basic plot is it's the madness of the multiverse as we take a break from our usual programming to check in on the adventures of our new favorite dynamic duo, Darcy and Agent Woo. That's Dr. Darcy to you.
There you go.
The two attempt to find out exactly what has been going on for the last 3 episodes. Not unlike your favorite yet-to-be-named MCU podcast has been doing. Plus, one of the coldest cold openings in television as Monica returns from being dusted and disgusted to find out that all is not right in Westview, or the world for that matter.
Facts. Whew. All right. This
was a Mad Tings episode. Mad Tings. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we talked about last week how a lot of people have been complaining. So we're going to get right through that because this was that episode for everyone who thought this show had been moving too slow. Jack had even talked about how they understand that people think it's a slow show because they're used to the MCU doing things a certain way. And this was new for them.
Not just that.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I said an episode or 2 ago. This is it's giving me 2021 future privilege. Like, I have to have all the episodes now. I need to know the whole plot now. I need to know all the theories now. No, you don't. Let's back up. Let's go back to back in the day where you had to wait your ass a week to find out how the story was going to progress. And whether or not you was with it or not feeling the vibes, if you still wanted to learn about the story or wanted to learn about the characters, you was going to sit your ass there every week. Whether it was, every Friday, you doing TGIF or whatever it is, you would sit there and learn. Because you're like, you know what? I'm going to be invested in this show or these characters or these storylines or these arcs. And that's how it was. Now, yes, now everyone's used to the whole Netflix, give me everything right now. But I'm telling you, not everything has to be that way. And what I also said was, I think I said it even on Twitter, the fact is, especially because it's Marvel, not to say that they have no mistakes, but especially because it's Marvel, it's going to be worth it. All of this waiting and slowness, as people say, the payoff is going to be worth it. And we're already getting paid off, I feel, for episode 4.
Super paid off. And like you just said, this weekend, while also watching this, I went back and watched Thor: The Dark World because I wanted to see Darcy come back.
Oh, I hate that movie.
It's like not the best, but let me say, at the same time on cable this weekend, I also caught parts of Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield and Fantastic Four with Chris Evans and Silver Surfer. And let's just say Thor: The Dark World is still... You know what I mean? Like, you still getting fed MCU content right there, that content. Like, don't act like this is,
I could read the synopsis and
don't act like this is Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I'm not acting. Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. For those who were mad about the first 3 episodes, let's not act like this is, Rise of the Silver Surfer, because I just rewatched that. And
I will give you that. And it hurt. Okay. I will give you that. It wasn't that terrible, but it still wasn't a good movie. And it definitely showed the hell was not a good MCU movie, Thor: Dark World. It was not a good MCU movie. Benhameen, regardless of what I know you watched it so you can get some additional insight and just, connect the dots a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, that's one MCU movie where you can read a 4-sentence synopsis and be good.
Facts.
You don't have to watch the movie.
Facts. I cannot lie to that. But let's get into this episode. The madness of the metaverse is our first theme. As just like we said, this episode is pretty much a reflection of what we've been doing on this podcast, what every YouTuber has been doing, what all the Twitter, Instagram, everywhere has been doing, trying to figure out what the hell has been going on. Agent Woo and Dr. Darcy come together as a duo, figure out that Wanda is projecting, or someone is projecting, this whole series that we've been watching onto the field that is surrounding this town. And they plug in, they tune in, they get invested, they put their theories up on the board. It's like, it seems like what we've been doing right here.
I was dying because I was just like, yo, this is wild accurate. Like how, what do they show? When they show like the map of like a place and then they have all the pictures of all the people and all the lines that connect and the circles, like that's... like, it's just like that meme. Like, I felt like they were personifying us.
Mm-hmm. And also, we talk about the metaverse and the meta-ness of this episode, because there's a lot of breaking of the fourth wall, like very literally and figuratively. Like, as we've seen before, Wanda will look at the camera. I think Vision has one of the illest looks at the camera that we've seen yet. At the end of this episode, where he's like, help me.
Help me, nigga. Help me.
Bam!
Could you imagine the Vision did that? Like with a do-rag. Help me, nigga.
Help me.
Shout out to Steph, I will, with the Vision wearing a do-rag.
Yes, okay.
Appreciate you.
So we got a lot of the breaking of the fourth wall in that way. We see everything from outside of a television screen that we've been seeing. It's like we've seen this we knew this was a show within a show, but we actually see people watching the show within the show, getting invested in the show, just like we've been. Mm-hmm. The whole one of my, just had me crying was the fact that when Wanda throws Geraldine Monica up out of there, she goes through 4 separate walls. She goes out of Wanda's house, she hits the fence, she hits another wall, and then she hits the force field. 4 walls, television show breaks the fourth wall of going out of the television.
That's actually a very clever action, and also a very clever observation from you, because it also feeds back into all of the literal things happening whenever Wanda uses her powers in this bubble. So like when her water broke and the water was actually coming out the sky or the building or whatever the hell the water was fucking coming from. Who has sprinklers in their home? That's the other thing. Like, the fuck that happened? It was like raining. It was like a rainstorm. But the point is, things that are, very literal interpretations of her powers and of her thoughts and of her feelings are happening. So for that to be happening, double entendre plus the reference of fourth wall breaking, just perfect.
Yeah. Okay, now something that I want to talk about in regards to this, the watching of the show, right? In regards to Darcy and Woo watching it, there was the real obvious edits that Darcy caught, right? That we've seen before when Wanda rewinds time. Is like, nah, I'm good on that. Let me go a different route. You know, choose your own adventure. You know, she looks ahead to that page and it's like, I don't think so.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
What was the other choice? Go to page 78? No, that bad. Let me go to 45. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Cheating on those books.
Fam, I love me some Choose Your Own Adventure. I read all them shits. I cheated my way through every single one I ever read.
This is like a Bandersnatch.
There's a classic one. This is so off the track.
Bandersnatch, whatever that movie was called.
There's a classic one where your character is trying to reach Nirvana, right? And so to achieve Nirvana, you know, you can't really make any choice. So the trick was, it was just 2 pages in this book where you had to cheat to get to it.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, it was ill. So anyway, but about the editing of this show, right? Because this show right here, this podcast, don't need some editing after all that little adventure we just went on. The editing of this show is ill, right? We see the big edits that Wanda's been doing, and they see these same big edits. But when I'm watching it today, when Geraldine is delivering the baby on the show, we don't see the moments where I was talking about last week where Geraldine seems to switch to Monica, where she's like, you could do it. You could do it. You know,
we saw those.
No, you see the moments where Geraldine is still being Geraldine, like, push now. Now time's the time to push. You don't see.
You do.
I watched it again today just to make sure it is. You see the moments, but it's specific moments that you don't see. Now, I might be bugging. Watch. Now, I'm not saying that I'm bugging in the fact that those moments aren't in there, because those moments aren't in there. You can go watch. I went and rewound. Then I went back to that old episode to watch those moments again, just to make sure. 3? Yeah, well, I mean, 1 episode ago, I said like that old episode, like it was long ago. But no, look, those moments ain't in there. Now, I might be bugging as to the intentionality of all that, but I'm learning that this show seems to be very intentional over all its choices.
Absolutely. Now, that specific moment you're talking about when Geraldine says, when Wanda says, I can't do this, and Geraldine says, yes, you can.
Yep.
They do show that in episode 3.
Yes, not in episode 4. That's what I mean. When
Darcy
and them are
episode
watching
4, it skips.
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
That's
of
fine.
course I saw it in episode 3. I was talking about that last week.
I was confused at which one you were talking about. So you're saying the version in
that
episode
Darcy
4,
and them see, they don't ever see Geraldine flip to Monica at all.
Except for, don't they see when
the Ultron moment? That's the moment.
The Ultron moment, right? When she says, "Oh, Wanda, don't be like that."
Yep. Okay. And then it's like, nah, I'm good. Cut all that out. So that leads to the question, who is behind this, right? All right. I'm going to immediately say at the end when she's like, it's all Wanda, that's just the biggest fake out ever, and it's a ridiculous, obvious fake out. No damn way. No. I don't think it's all Wanda at all.
Right. I mean, like that's a question, right? As you said, the show itself is heavily edited depending on who the audience is. When we're watching it just from the perspective of the real life audience watching a Disney Plus show, as you say, there's certain things we see that perhaps the agents are not seeing, and Dr. Darcy and them are not seeing.
There's also certain things that they've seen so far that we have not seen.
Yes, and that's the other part of it. So that's also part of the mindfuck, right? Like, who is editing what? And, as you said, is it all just Wanda? Is she hiding these true details, or is there someone else also helping or hindering the entirety of this anomaly? Like, who? Like, obviously Wanda is controlling it, and they've been saying it's all her. Even Monica says it's all Wanda, it's all Wanda. But as we said in our last review, is Wanda also being manipulated to stay in this bubble? Is she being manipulated to help maintain the bubble, and so on and so forth? We know that people, i.e. Agnes and even Herb, are helping to maintain the bubble, but to what end? Are they doing it just to keep Wanda together? Are they doing it at the behest of another townsperson, another character that's there? What's happening? Are they doing it, as you say, because they're scared of what might happen? Like, the children, would you say that children, not Children of the Corn, that boy, that movie you said?
Oh, no, Twilight Zone episode.
Okay, Twilight Zone episode. Are they doing it because they're scared that if they don't listen, they're going to get yeeted out of existence? What's happening?
Because what happened to the beekeeper? Did that man get yeeted up out of existence?
And that was one of my questions. And that's how we all saw during that actual episode where, like, she just, I don't know if that was when she rewound it, or she just skipped the frames. Like, either way, she meaning Wanda, just made it like it never happened. But what is that? Where did the guy go? Because you never hear of him coming back. In episode 4, they never mention him coming back. They say that you see that when he comes back, his rope is cut. So where'd he go? Yeeted out of existence. That's why I'm like, the fuck? We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it soon. But these
you also
these
talked about real quick the idea of her making it. I mean, of her maintaining it, or is it because someone wants her to have these babies? But also, who led to her creating it?
Right. Again, I'm sticking with my theory, which is parallel to the House of M, which is Wanda was fucking fed up. She had, besides just being just on a, and I don't think fed up is like a low level thing, but besides being fed up, she was traumatized. It's a lot of traumatized grief that she holds. The fact that, as we said before, Vision died twice. She had to watch this happen. She had to fight Thanos, of all motherfuckers she had to fight. I mean, literally moving heaven and earth, and reality itself was shifted twice. Once when Thanos did the snap, and again when the Tony did the snap. So I just think it was just all of this. It was just too much, and she's doing this to protect herself. Now, again, that's if you're riding along that wave of House of M wave. To your point, it could be that and combination things, but it could also be someone reading into her grief and her sorrow and all that stuff, and giving her what she wants, quote unquote.
Also, lest we forget, right? Wanda also lost her brother. Lost her brother, Ultron, right? Immediately, I mean, this all takes place in the space of a few years, except for the last part of this, right? Her brother gets killed right in the Civil War, branded a criminal, et cetera, all this mad drama. Then, after that, Thanos attacks, boom, Vision dies. Vision dies. This is how it goes down. Vision dies, maybe 2 minutes later, she gets snapped out of existence. Right? 5 years later, she gets snapped back into existence, realizes Vision is still dead, has to go fight Thanos. The whole world gets everybody back except for her. She doesn't get Vision or Pietro back, has to go fight Thanos, and then this takes place, as we learn in this episode, 3 weeks afterwards. So within the space of 3 weeks, Wanda figures out, okay, fuck, the people I love haven't come back. What can I do about this?
Yeah.
My theory, like you said, is House of M type thing, but I do believe that Agnes, Agatha, Harkness, someone teaches or helps her. It's like, you can use magic. I can show you the way.
Yeah.
And then they show her
emotionally broken.
Broken, and it's understandable. And that was why I love seeing the blip in this episode, and because they played it so much for laughs before in Spider-Man Far From Home, but in this episode, you see how ridiculous and how terrifying, how disorienting everything it would be for these people just to suddenly pop back in 5 years later. And for Wanda to pop back in, see everybody like, oh, I got my people back. Hawkeye's like, oh, my family's here. And she's like, well,
what about me?
Yep.
And what you're saying actually goes right into the next theme of who are you? You make an excellent point, and something we've talked about on the ForAllNerds podcast for a few years, actually, about how cavalier they made it seem about people getting blipped and then coming back. How, some of it's done for comedic effect, but we always ask, not to be a wet blanket, but you and I always ask the serious questions like, well, what the hell? What did happen to people? And what happens when they came back? Like, how did that affect your life? Like, we use the example of, imagine a husband or wife got blipped and, their significant other moved on after that 5 years and they show up.
Yeah.
What if that person had, another child and moved on and all that other stuff? Then what happens to that person? Like, it's like, it sounds funny, yeah, but it's also very serious. Like, children who've been blipped, right? The parent or whoever thinks that person's gone forever, dead. Like, think about in real life missing persons when the child's gone for like 20 years and they find the child and, they're grown and stuff, but it's just like, do you know? It's all these questions in your head, right? Do you know that person anymore? Does the person know you anymore? Does it matter? Is it like they've never existed at that point? Like, it's such a mental strain. So it was interesting to watch that, as you say, the disorientation of it, it was terrifying, to be quite honest with you. Me watching these people fucking infinity fade and reverse back into existence, running around in a hospital, it was fucking wild as shit. And I loved it.
Loved it so much. From the opening moments, and if you listen very closely as Monica's reforming, you hear snippets of audio
of her memories.
Yeah, from Captain Marvel.
When she was a child.
Yeah, so you hear her basically coming back in. You hear her Lieutenant Trouble. I actually meant to make that one of my other AKAs, Lieutenant Good Trouble. There you go.
I like that.
Hey, like that.
Damn, I want that so bad now. Shit.
You know, gotta get to him.
Gotta get to it, right? So, so Lieutenant Good Trouble, you noticed that the memory that what sounded like, which was really clips from Captain Marvel movie, but it was memories from Monica as a child.
Yes,
that were coming back together as her essence was reforming. Now I have a question about that. The fact that, you know, this particular, and I know people are reforming all over the world, but in this particular sense, we find out, you see Monica running around. She runs into some doctor that actually knows her, which is her mother's doctor, and she's running around. She's like, "Yo, where's my mom?" When Monica showed up, she was next to an empty bed. She finds this doctor she knows. "Yo, where's my mother?" The doctor's like, you know, she says stuff, but then she says, "Yo, your mother died 3 years ago," and that gave me a question, like, why did Monica blip back to the hospital?
Because that's where Monica was at when she blipped
was
out.
She? Because that's what the part I'm not clear on. Because the doctor said, "Oh, your mother died 3 years ago, and that was 2 years after you disappeared." Now, what Monica says is, how can that be? Because the last time I spoke to you, you said my mother. She said that her cancer went away. Yep. You know, she said she was the surgery went good, the cancer went away. Yep. Is the timeline then that action happened and then Monica left the hospital and then disappeared?
No, the timeline is that Monica was sitting next to her mom in the hospital and the blip happens and she vanishes.
So the blip happens after she learns that the surgery went fine.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And then she reappears in the hospital.
Okay, I wasn't 100% sure about that. Thank you.
All right, so that's one of the things about Who Are You? Another big one that is something that, you know, it's one of the big mysteries of this episode is that we start to get into, of this whole series we start to get into, is Agent Woo is investigating a missing persons case. His missing persons case is a person who was in the witness protection program. So his first instinct is to call up everybody who knows the witness because he figures this person just skipped town, whatever. No one even remembers this person. They don't even know this person exists.
That's what I'm saying. I want to be clear. It's not just it's not memory. It's they never had a memory of or according to this what Woo is saying, that person never existed to them.
Yes, this person does not exist. The person's been wiped off the face of the planet. So Woo goes to this town looking for this person, where this witness is supposed to be at, right? Goes to this place looking for this person. Can't seem to get into the town, runs into these cops who say that they're not from Westview, but they're from Eastview. They also come off real weird, like they're from the past. They talk about him like a G-men, which is like the old school term for
way
government.
To say FBI goons or whatever.
Yeah, super old school, like 1920s. Like,
because I Googled that. I was like, what's G-Man? And every reference was from like the 40s or the 50s. I was like, who talks like that?
Yeah, so they say they're from Eastview, not from Westview. They drive off. They don't go into the Westview that we've been seeing, right? So who is this missing person, right? Because this is what pretty much sets it off. Because this person goes missing. The FBI calls up Sword. Sword sends acting chief director Wayward Hayward over here. Sends Monica. Wayward Hayward over here sends Monica specifically is like, yo, you go down there and handle this. Yeah. Right after you come back from the blip. Even though I'm head of Sword, I got all these people at, my disposal. You specifically go over here and handle this, right?
Yeah.
And then she gets sucked in, and here we are now. So who is this original missing person is my question.
Right. Now, what does it also relate to?
Oh, there we go. The fact that everybody cannot remember this missing person relates to in the comic books when Wanda's kids get reabsorbed into Mephisto. Long story. Hopefully you've been listening to these other episodes. I explained that before.
Just in short, we explained last episode that in the comic books, and this is going to be very brief, in the comic books, these children that Wanda created have pieces of Mephisto's soul in them.
Yes.
That's all y'all need to know right now.
Then they get absorbed back into Mephisto, who is the devil, right?
Yes.
Agatha Harkness casts a spell on everyone on Earth to make them forget that these kids ever existed.
Because she's trying to keep it under wraps.
Yes.
To keep it away from Wanda.
To keep it away from Wanda and keep Wanda from being fed up, as we said earlier.
That's some powerful fucking magic. You can make everyone on Earth the billions.
Yes.
The trillions.
The billions.
The billions. The billions. You make, really?
Yes.
What is Earth's population? Let's look that up real quick.
And while you're looking that up, I'll go into some more of this theory, right? Because in this episode, something that bugged me out is when we finally do see Geraldine and Wanda have their confrontation at the end. Geraldine, Monica, whatever you want to call her, had a confrontation at the end. Wanda does a lot of big magic, throws Geraldine through four walls, all kind of madness goes on. The kids make no noise until she turns back around after fixing the walls and starts paying attention to them. Or after she turns around and calms down, then her focus isn't on this drama anymore and the kids are there again. And
to me, that is congruent with my last theory in the last episode, our last review episode, about action and things happening based on proximity to Wanda. Like when people touching Wanda and then knowing their names or knowing how to continue. There was a section you mentioned. I mean, even though Vision is of Wanda's doing, like Vision touching other people and then they figuring out who they are and what they do. But it's all connected to Wanda. Like nothing moves, even though some of the characters say to the contrary. It doesn't seem like anything happens unless they're near Wanda or Wanda dictates it.
Vision seems to break the spell while Wanda seems to cast the spell to everybody near them.
Logic versus magic.
Yeah, versus magic. And
machinery.
Also, that goes back to the comic books when the reason why her kids, when they first noticed that there was something wrong with the kids, was that the kids would vanish whenever Wanda wasn't thinking about them.
See?
Or whenever she wasn't near them. So that's
proximity.
What we're seeing in this show. I think that was a big hint right there because they straight up, she is having an argument with this woman and they make no noise. I was also trying to peep if you can see the crib in the background from the shots, and it should be in one shot, and I feel like you can't see it.
Can't you see a little bit of it, like when she's piecing the walls back together, when she's fixing it?
Oh, no, then, yeah, maybe. But I'm talking about when they're arguing, I did not see it. Now, once again, I might be bugging, or it might be intentional, take that what you will there.
Yeah. Like I said, Agnes has some big magic. There's 7.8 billion, approximately, people in the world.
You go.
So all them,
that should work, too.
That shit is wild.
Yeah.
And then also just wrapping up the Who Are You theme. Obviously all of the names of the people we're learning, the townspeople in Westview, who they actually are. And, whether or not they're also considered missing persons. And then Wanda even asking Geraldine, who are you? Before she eats her out of the bubble. So, who are you?
Uncle Phil, your ass up out of here.
She definitely did. Okay, so another major theme is obviously the altering of reality. We've all generally known, we've used different terms for it, but we've all known that Westview / WandaVision is an alternate reality of sorts. It's an illusion. And that, in this case, Woo calls it an anomaly. And we learn that anything that enters the anomaly gets changed or masked to fit the current time period or that episode that Wanda is in. And I thought it was interesting that I just realized that, like the term episode, they say when people are having mental breakdowns, they go through episodes. So each episode of the show could be an episode of a mental breakdown. Who knows? But as I mentioned, things change. So
Stages of Grief. How many episodes are there? There's 9, but there's 8. Yeah, okay.
It's a lot. But I just we're not gonna do the math on that. But it's all parallel. Things that change. That sword drone is, and I remember seeing it when Monica was holding it. It was very futuristic. It's 2020, but futuristic comparatively speaking. But when it enters the universe, the WandaVision universe, it becomes that old school toy helicopter.
Yep.
With all sorts of propellers and all sorts of stuff. The sword agent that goes through the sewers in a hazmat suit, that sword hazmat suit, he ends up on the other side as a beekeeper.
Still sword though.
Still sword. The toy helicopter still has the sword symbol. So all she does, she doesn't necessarily change the entire. She changes the appearance, but not necessarily the composition of it. Like the helicopter is still a helicopter. Instead of a drone, it's a helicopter. Instead of a hazmat suit, it's a beekeeper suit. But it's still generally the same vibe. The steel cable that's tied around the sword agent, when he gets past that barrier, it becomes that old school jump rope. Mm-hmm. And then when the agents are trying to reel him back in, they get the end of the jump rope. Like, what the fuck is this?
You also see Wanda's chaos magic, the red energy around the jump rope, just like you see when Monica exits through the field.
And notice that it progresses, because in the previous episode, when she uses her chaos energy, is red smoke. For example, when she's trying to get rid of the stork, is red smoke. In this episode, it looks more like the traditional MCU chaos magic with the, more red energy fields and things like that.
Also, when Monica got thrown out last episode, it looked straight up like the red energy fields.
Absolutely. Yep. We've talked about it just a while ago, but Wanda.
A point on that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The red energy fields only appear when the perspective of the camera shifts to widescreen 16:9 action. The smoke appeared when it was still looking like an old school television.
Because that was their
old school effects. The effects are always old school,
that's the old school
until
effects.
she goes into the reality of the MCU.
Yes. She went from that cute I Dream of Jeannie style magic to big magic. Big red magic. Yeah, big red. Double entendre there. So we mentioned this before, but it's either Wanda or someone else is censoring her own show, her own broadcast, whenever things happen that break the illusion. So the examples we have are like when Agent Woo gets through to Wanda on that radio broadcast. Wanda breaks. The glass breaks in Dottie's hand, and the scene skips frames, like something being deleted. And then again, we're going to talk about this later about who Dottie really is, but at least in that scene, it seems like Dottie becomes lucid and says to Wanda, "Who are you?"
But she's been like, that's the thing. She's leaning on Wanda, then Wanda makes the glass break and then rewinds it.
Yeah.
Or edits it, or it's.
Yeah.
When someone then,
Another example, when every time Vision realizes something's not right, he's about to say some wild shit, Wanda rewinds the scene, or she skips the frames and he resets, like he uses new lines.
Yeah.
And again, it's deliberately like abrupt. It's like jump cuts. Like if you watch a YouTube video, people use jump cuts all the time. They use it for comedic effect. They just use it for style effect. But it's obvious that an edit was made. And then finally, when Wanda says no upon seeing the beekeeper, you see the frame skip again, or she rewinds it. It's another deletion. And as we asked earlier, does that mean the agent is dead? And the only reason why I asked is because the only person we see go in and return after she was forcibly removed is Monica.
I doubt he's dead. I just think we haven't seen what happened to him yet.
He's a tree now? Like, what's happening?
Oh, no, something worse. Something like he might turn into a swarm, like we were saying, or I don't know. Who knows? But like we say, if that turned, which is some theories, if that turned Monica into Captain Marvel, that gives her the photon, the spectrum abilities, which we kept seeing reference in this episode as well. The name photon and spectrum is referenced a couple of times, both AKAs of Monica. So if that was what gives her powers, is the no giving this dude some powers?
I don't know. It's so, and this is unrelated, but when I said that she turned into a tree, I thought of Scarlett Johansson. So that's a...
I missed it.
Do you remember Scarlett Johansson was like, I should be able to play anything in the world?
I didn't know she said a tree.
She did! The great furs of the West.
Black
but anyway.
Widow, y'all. Black Widow.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, it is what it is. In terms of also altering reality, this is a point of contention. Not contention, but this is a point of debate between Benhameen and I. What is Westview, New Jersey? Okay? Now, when in this episode, we see that the townspeople that are identified, their real names, all their driver's licenses say their residence is Westview, New Jersey.
It's also very obscure, just to make it very difficult whether to see if it's Westview or Eastview.
Right. However, when Woo is talking to the cops basically say there's no such place as Westview.
Yep.
And they say that they are from Eastview.
Mm-hmm.
And then also within an anomaly, we've went back and watched all of the episodes. It seems like no one mentions Westview by name except for Dottie inside. And yeah, so our point is it the cops and everyone else that's brainwashed or lost memory? Or is it the idea that Westview really doesn't exist and it's just a mirror image of Eastview? Like, is Eastview the real town that Wanda just modeled Westview off of, and then she made up this make-believe place, which is what I was leaning towards. But then Ben was like, well, what if it's really the cops that their memory has been messed with?
The cops is what really throws me off completely, right?
Because it's not just the cops. It's also, remember how Wu said his person who went into witness protection, that their family never heard of them. But how could that be?
It's the cops saying they're from Eastview that throws me off, right? Because the town Westview seems to be the place. It seems to be a town Westview. because Woo and them can see the licenses. They're outside of this field. They see the licenses of Westview.
But have the licenses also been?
But it's outside of the. Oh, but you're right because
it's outside. But
Monica, once she comes outside, her clothes are changed and her hair is still changed.
Well, Monica comes out when gets thrown, as you say, Uncle Phil'd out the universe. She still has her old school clothes and hair and all that, so she's been changed. So that means, as we know, Wanda can alter reality regardless if she's in a bubble or in real world. And this is what's interesting because it also reminds me of Inception, where like there's different levels of reality and what is real on those levels. So that's why I'm saying like this is kind of not a debate point for the both of us, because we're trying to figure out, is Westview real and she's just taking it over, or is Westview completely made up?
And where do those cops come from? Because they don't seem to go into the town. They seem to drive off in the opposite direction. Yeah. They say they're from Eastview. They talk like they're from 1940s. They look at them crazy because they have an Asian man and a black woman standing in front of them. It's interesting. That one, that's what throws me off completely on this episode. I know, it's such a minor detail in it, right?
Well, it's actually a major detail, because the other reason why I was leaning on that there's no such place as Westview and that it's just kind of a mirrored altered reality is that because this anomaly, it's enveloped in an energy field that's made of high, as Dr. Darcy says, high portions of CMBR. They say CMB. CMBR is cosmic microwave background radiation. It's electromagnetic radiation, which, as Director Hayward says, is a remnant from the early stages of the universe. So the Big Bang happened. It was this huge explosion that has all this energy and compositions and all sorts of things. And millions, trillions of years later, it's still available. That radiation tells us the age and composition of the universe. Also, in the Marvel universe, the Big Bang is what created the Infinity Stones. The Big Bang, as as Wong tells us in one of them movies. Yeah, your man Wong. In his only useful time, you know. When who all gonna be there, Wong? Yeah. Who all gonna be there, Wong? Is he explains that after the Big Bang, the Infinity Stones came out of the Big Bang. Okay. Also, that Wanda, as we all know, is created by the Mind Stone, or her powers are amplified by the Mind Stone. Yeah. Well, she has powers of the Reality Stone. She has powers of all the stones. That's the point. But we don't know exactly how she got her powers. Is Wanda and Pietro mutants, like as we know them from the comics, or we don't know yet. Right. Whatever. But we do know that she has her powers from the Infinity Stone, so her powers would emit this type of cosmic microwave background radiation, which also forms the radiation that forms this field that has this television, or has these longer wavelengths, as Darcy describes them, which form the television show that we've been watching. And that very word you use, form. I'm thinking forming of a universe, forming of matter, of things, which is why I'm like, this is a made up place. The other reason why I thought that is because when the sword agents are trying to like get some visuals on the place, they say they're running radar, which is electromagnetic waves, LiDAR, which uses lasers, SODAR, not sonar, but SODAR, which measures the scattering of sound waves, and infrared, which measures electromagnetic radiation. That tech picks up zero visual when they scan this anomaly. Nothing in Westview? When they scan the anomaly, they can't see jack shit. When they scan the anomaly using these 4 technologies, they can't see anything. Okay, there's another question, right? They have licenses of all these people, driver's license of all these people. Yeah. But these people, no one has any memory of these people, or these people? That's what my question was earlier. Yeah, because that wasn't very clear. Yeah, that wasn't very clear. People have memory of these, and that's why these little details are important, because that's when we're trying to figure out what's what with this place, right? We know the place is strange, but what's exactly strange about it? Which leads into the next theory, right? So all of these texts, none of this text gives any visuals into what's going on inside the bubble. Yes, in the daytime when they're standing outside the bubble, you can see that it's a town, a little small town that has a sign that says 2,800 people, whatever, how many people live there. But that's it. You don't know you don't see anybody walking around. You don't see no kids, dogs, cats, nothing. Still no kids too. Nothing. Still no kids. But they are able to get a visual, Dr. Darcy is, when they pick up the only old school analog signal, which is a broadcast frequency that's being sent out, which to me is Wanda also meaning Wanda's rejecting the present time and reality and continuing to build up this bubble world. And also, like I said, it's only this analog signal that is able to get picked up. You see Darcy asked for a real old school TV that has the rabbit ears that can actually pick up those signals and all that stuff. Any digital signal doesn't work. So what does that mean?
It's analog. It's only able to be perceived by people or things with a soul.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know, but that's just something to throw out there. Let y'all chew on that. As Benhameen said, that takes us into our next theme, which is just the theme of theories. We've been talking theories this entire time of this podcast, but it's very prevalent in this episode because we get a manic whiteboard situation.
Yes, we do. We get to see Agent Woo putting up the same whiteboard that many of us have in our homes. Mine is actually right off camera. You can't see it, but it's right over there. I do have a whiteboard up that has theories on it. And on this whiteboard, we see many of the same theories that we've all talked about and that people have been talking about. Everyone has been talking about. Why are there sitcoms? Why is this? Darcy asked, why is it changing from the 60s, 70s to the 80s? Is it just for my entertainment? You know, all these questions are asked. Also on the whiteboard, we get to see a lot of info or some information that we are not privy to as far as the viewing audience. Like one of the big ones for me was your man Norm, and Abalash is his real name, right? When they put up notes
Abalash.
on Abalash. They put
Abalash
up notes.
Tandem.
Abalash Tandem. They put up notes on everyone as they're putting up their driver's license. If you pause it on Abalash, his has the most information as far as there are some notes that there's things that we have not seen. And the notes basically say that when Vision awakens Abalash, and I think this is going to happen next episode because in the trailer we've seen Vision awakening people when he touches them, et cetera, et cetera. But when he awakens them, Abalash asks about his father and his sister, and he's worried about them. Right?
Why would he do that?
Because his father and his sister aren't in this town. And he's like, where the hell are they then?
And where am I? And what is going on?
And where am I? And why is this gray dead man touching me?
It's a lot. And again,
does he see Vision as a gray dead man is the question there.
There's a theory that Woo puts up about scrolls.
Yep.
Which love it because again that references back to Captain Marvel and that whole situation. And also Sword would be very knowledgeable of scrolls at this point, including also Shield, but really Sword. And
it also shows you that even the FBI is aware of scrolls at this point and considers them a potential enemy.
Absolutely. And you actually mentioned it with the gray dead Vision. Okay, the theory is Vision dead or alive? Everyone outside the anomaly says that, you know, or asks, wasn't he dead? Isn't he dead? He was not part of the blip. He's dead. But there he is on screen. So is this part of Wanda's hex powers again? Just the illusion she's pulling up? Did she reanimate him from the dead? If you're using the old school comic book powers of Wanda, who the fuck knows? And then the one of the really amazing but also kind of scary horror scene where towards the end of the episode when Vision comes in talking to Wanda, his dead version of himself is there. Like all the color out of his face and eyes. You see the stone in his forehead is smashed up. It's exactly how he looked when Thanos, you know, put his paws on him. So
even worse though was like his eyes move and everything as he's talking. So not only is it this dead gray Vision with his skull caved in, you know, his eyes, his lips, everything, he's actually moving and talking. And Wanda sees this, right? Wanda sees this dead Vision, reacts to him, and then looks up again and has changed him back to the red Vision. Or is she seen through the spell as well? Is she glamored up, you know, like everyone else?
Seen through the spell, or is it similar to her child where if she's not paying attention to it,
it
or
turns
giving it
back
energy,
to the dead
it turns
Vision.
back to the truth?
Also, is everyone else in this town just like when he rolled up to the meeting, are they like, oh, here's that dead dude again? Oh, we got to sit here and act like he ain't
not
dead.
That dead dude.
Oh, this is horrific.
Like, how does he appear to other people?
Yes.
I mean, so you also now you're bringing in a new theory. Like, are people just playing along, or does he really?
I mean, they're
but he's changing
incredible
his
actors.
appearance, but
Yeah, they all just like, wow, this dead dude really think he fooling us over here. But, oh, God, this is horrible.
It depends on your point of view, right?
Yeah, it really does.
The show does that very strongly in terms of point of view. Things are different depending on the angle you're looking at it in, depending on whose eyes you're looking at it through, whose thoughts are being processed. Things can come up differently. The other theme we noticed was the Wizard of Oz theme. Again, this keeps coming up in so many amazing shows we've been watching over the last year and a half. There's no place like home. In this, director Hayward talks to Monica when she comes back from the blip. He says, I know Sword is your home. In episode 3, Agnes warns Vision that Geraldine has no home. Now, is this a reference that, for the few years Monica technically didn't exist since she was blipped, or are they just saying she doesn't belong here? Like, what does that mean?
That's a good question. Also about that, Monica does not remember anything from her 5 years of being blipped, which was
Why
interesting.
would she?
Because what if, a lot of theories were that people were in the Soul Stone.
But why would they remember that?
Who knows? They got adventures at the Soul Stone. I don't know. Or they would just sleep.
It's to me. When
you don't even dream.
I always understood that. My personal understanding is that when people got blipped, or as we call it on ForAllNerds, infinity faded, whether they went to Soul Stone or wherever, they were just in stasis. Like they were just in some negaverse essentially that they did not exist, nor did they did and did not exist. They were Schrodinger's cat. They were dead and alive at the same time. They were just in, again, like I said, in stasis, just floating in the nethers. And which to me made sense why when they came back, they just started off where they left off. Mm-hmm. So like if you knew like when you got blipped, you was driving your car. And that's another thing. If you got blipped and you was driving a car, the car probably crashed, I guess. When you blipped, did you blip back to that car?
Bad ones. What if you blip into the highway and you just standing there on the highway and then whap, oh well,
what if you were driving along the Grand Canyon
you're
and
rain
you
at the
blipped
top.
into the ditch your car went into.
You're rain at the top, but short like leprechauns.
But that's also why I was asking, why did Monica come back to the hospital? You said it's because that's where she got blipped.
Yes.
But because of that theory of people returning back to where there was, I'm like, are they just returning back to where they were? Wherever you were on the plane, you couldn't have come back on the plane.
No, you come back.
It's not even in the same place. You're not coming back to air. Do people come back to where they were, or do people come back to where they have the most emotional significance?
Okay, the Russos, because they've talked about this, they were like trying to make it all sweet and nice. So they
they knew it didn't make no sense.
It didn't make no sense. But they said like, okay, if you were on a plane, you would appear on the ground. You wouldn't just appear in midair.
So if I was flying over fucking Russia, I would just appear somewhere in the cornfields in Russia,
or somewhere. Where you would be able to survive, I would hope. Because otherwise, what if you appear in, Siberia? You a rat.
Sure,
son.
I understand surviving, but it's just like, all right, so like right now it's a fucking snowstorm. I just show up in the fucking field somewhere in the middle of a snowstorm.
It's tight. Homie.
Wearing the clothes I was wearing.
It's tight. You was headed to Jamaica too.
I'd be fucked. Like, okay, I show up with no harm done to me, but then my nigga, I'm wearing fucking basketball shorts and a t-shirt. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
Tight. Look, talk
in
to
a
the whole.
snowstorm. Anyway, that's beyond the point.
Yes.
But that's the question I had. Back to that whole No Place Like Home Wizard of Oz reference. At the end of episode 4, Vision tells Wanda that they don't have to stay. They can go anywhere. Wanda responds, no, we can't. This is our home. Further pressing upon the fact that WandaVision universe is an illusion. As she knows that there's no way he can go anywhere else, because if he does, he doesn't exist.
Yo, my man looked mad hurt, son.
He didn't look mad hurt.
Mad hurt. He was like, what? No.
But also that means he's dead. She knows he's dead.
Yes.
He's not real. This is a made up fucking place. This
don't really hurt if the show ends with Vision dead again.
He's gonna die 3 times. Listen.
3 times?
3 times. The last Wizard of Oz reference is Wanda herself. She's the Wicked Witch of the Westview.
Very well done there. Why did you not use that as your
I'm
AKA?
about to. That's my AKA now.
Okay, there we go.
Wicked Witch of the Westview.
Yes.
She's a witch.
Sweet.
She's a witch. She's the Red Witch. She has many different names in the comics, but people often refer to her as a witch. She has hex powers.
She's Scarlet Witch.
She's Scarlet Witch. She deals with, as I said, hex powers, but that's the devil in them, okay? That's the devil in them. That's Mephisto in them. Can't nobody tell me otherwise.
Is that like the reverse of the God in me? The devil in them?
The devil and them.
It's the devil in them.
One thing I noticed on
I got the God in me.
On director Tyler Hayward's desk at Sword headquarters, there's a crystal ball there. On the left side of the desk is a crystal ball. On the right is a glass, a mug with a magnifying glass. But the crystal ball is important, particularly in this theme, is because in Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West looked through a ball to see the present. She used it as a remote viewing device. She was spying on my niggas with that crystal ball.
Not only does my man have a crystal ball, all the diplomas in his office are arranged in a hex with one in the center.
So, again, this whole witch stuff. Is this guy also some type of witch? What's going on? Is he Oz? What's going on?
The great and powerful. Didn't you say something about him being charmed? Or what was the line?
Darcy, when Darcy showed them the broadcast, at that point, Director Hayward's like, he starts barking out orders. Y'all need to make sure y'all recording this. I need to get back to headquarters. He's pretty brash about it, right? But, he says what he needs to say and he dips. And Dr. Darcy says, oh, he's charming. Like, she says it in a facetious way. She thinks he's a dickhead, whatever. But, again, that idea of charmed and being charmed. When Agnes first meets Wanda in episode 1 of this show, and Wanda says, hi, I'm Wanda, Agnes shakes her hand and says, Wanda, charmed. Again, that idea of charmed belonging to people who have powers or who are in control of different things.
Charmed, glamour, all that keeps coming up. All references wild. Just like the show Charmed, just come on now.
Shit is wild.
Yep.
And then finally, the last theme is of space because Sword itself, yes. We told y'all before how you're going to be introduced to a lot of different organizations that are acronyms. And this version of the MCU, SWORD stands for Sentient Weapons Observation Response Department. In the comics, it stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department.
Yep.
There are references to Monica going into space. Like apparently before she got blipped, she would be going into space to do missions. And this time, Director Hayward says, oh, you're grounded for going to space. You can only do terrestrial missions. And that was part of a protocol that her mother, Maria, set up in the event that the Infinity Faded people returned.
Allegedly, Chris. Allegedly. Her mother set up. Yeah.
Allegedly, right.
Sounds real good, Hayward.
I don't trust my nigga. So Monica asked Director Hayward about the astronaut training program. And then obviously I mentioned before about the idea of scrolls. That's all space and Captain Marvel shit.
Also, people have, because people love their theories that the Fantastic Four, which we know are coming to the MCU very soon, are being seated right here because Monica asked about the astronaut training program and what happened to the other people who got blipped away, the astronauts who got blipped away and came back. Yeah. That's the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And Hayward says, well, nobody's really coming. He said he lost half of them.
Yeah.
The other half ain't really coming back. And Monica's the first, after 3 weeks after everyone coming back, Monica's the first to report to work.
So that's why I'll send her on this mission. Sure, guy. Yeah.
Yeah, something.
Whatever.
Right.
Yep. So that's it for the themes. Next up, we have the characters, all the new characters, all characters that we got some new theories on. We got the return of Dr. Darcy, now a doctor, because before she was just interning it up. Now she done stepped her game up. Is Dr. Darcy Lewis.
From
Kat
Thor.
Dennings, from Thor, killing it as always. Shorty is dope, just a dope actor. I mean, just so good, so good as Darcy. Like I said, I went back and watched The Dark World because I needed more Darcy.
She was from Two Broke Girls, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And turned that show into a hit, and I was like, yeah, right. So she got something going. Yeah,
so her from Thor, and again, I love the TV shows that have the direction because I like this is the way you integrate television and movies and integrate stories and characters. Make them have sense and go together. DC, I'm talking to you.
Yeah. We also get the return of Agent Woo, Randall Park, the FBI agent from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Rewatched that recently, and I saw the whole magic thing when he walks up to Monica and pops the card out because he was so enamored with
Remember
magic.
he was doing that card trick? Oh, he was trying to figure out.
To learn it
he was trying to do it cool.
Ant-Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he got it down. 5 years later, my man walks up like a boss. Like, gotcha.
Yeah. He was so proud of himself.
So proud of himself.
We mentioned director Tyler Hayward a million times. In big bold letters, we got to tell y'all we don't trust him.
Not at all. At all. He's possibly related to Eric Hayward. I think it's Eric, another Hayward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, who turned out to be a Hydra agent himself. That Hayward was known to have a sister, but wasn't known to have any brothers. So this might be cousin Hayward. Who knows? But they all corrupt.
But if your cousin's corrupt,
yep, you gotta be. I mean, not really.
Chances
Come
are,
on now.
Not really.
Damn,
but
like,
maybe.
Yeah, because I got some corrupt cousins, so. I might be the corrupt cousin.
Not saying if your cousin's a criminal, you gonna be a criminal. But I'm just saying, if y'all cool.
Yeah, then we both.
Y'all might dabble.
Down. Yeah, you know, it's how it go down. You know,
you might dabble.
Shout out to my cousins. You know.
As you said, we meet a lot of new characters, and new in the sense that you find out their real names, but old characters because they're all the townspeople that we've been introduced to already. We mentioned Norm. His real name is Abhilash Tandon. Herb, his real name is John Collins. Mr. and Mrs. Hart, their names are Todd and Sharon Davis. Jones, the guys with the porn stash, his name is Harold Copter. And Beverly, the woman who was at the ladies' meeting, that was talking to Wanda, her real name is Isabel Matsueda.
Yep.
And the special thing about them is all of those people that live in Westview, those names anyway, they're named after actual IRL, in real life people that work on the Disney Plus Marvel show or in Marvel.
Mm-hmm. As well as some of the people that you saw in the credits in the first black and white episode. When you see those credits scrolling up, some of those people as well work on Marvel or work on WandaVision. So yeah, it's that weird show within the show once again.
Yeah, the fourth world stuff.
Dottie
is special though because she isn't in on. Well, two people are special, but particularly Dottie as a townsperson, she's not on the board at all. I think you zoomed in on that shot where they show the whole board. Yep. She's not in any of the accompanying pictures. She doesn't have her own personal profile. She's just not there.
Yes.
What about Dottie do you want to mention?
Dottie's the devil.
Explain. What do you mean?
Okay, my theory is that Dottie is Mephisto, right? Because in episode 2, Agnes says Dottie is the key to this town. She also says that when Dottie says the devil's in the details, Agnes says that's not the only place he is. You know, referencing to, at first we thought it was about the town or something, but I think it's actually specifically about Dottie. The only thing that throws this theory off for me is that Dottie presses Wanda to know who she is, you know, and if she's Mephisto in control of all this, I would think she knows who she is. But in the meta side of it, we know that from the internet's Kevin Feige himself, specifically wanted to meet the actress who plays Dottie before she was cast. So her role is something important and will probably come up in later MCU projects. So he was like, nah, I got to make sure you fit, make sure you work. So.
Okay, I like it.
I'm leaning on Dottie's the devil.
Another suspicious thing is Agnes is on the board, but her profile is the only one not accompanied by a real name nor state ID. If you all pause that scene and look at all the pictures, or even before, if you pause the scenes where they show those profile pages, you know, they have a whole bunch of information written there. They have their real name and their stage name, and then their New Jersey ID. Agnes has no real name nor an ID, and it's too far away. And maybe if you have some super 8K TV, you can zoom in and read what her stuff says, but you can't really read her information, and it just says Agnes.
Yep.
So again? Agatha Harkness, but you know, what is her role in all of this? And I guess that's the question, literally and figuratively. What is her role? You don't have her name. What is her purpose?
We shall find out. But like we said, in some of the trailers, we've seen her refer to Vision as dead once Vision touches her and seems to wake her up from the spell. Just like that information that we got about Abhilash, that we find out when Vision awakens him in an episode or in a segment that we haven't seen as an audience yet.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
just like the trailer. We ain't seen that yet either, obviously, other than if you watch the trailer.
It's just really wild, but it's so interesting. And again, I like this episode so much, besides the obvious cool shit, but also because it's starting to help connect the dots. And that's really what a lot of people, that's really the main complaint of people who say maybe stuff is too slow, because they can't easily or quickly connect the dots. It takes time and effort, and, you know, whether people are spoiled and they want to do all that, or they just simply are just excited, it's just like, give it a chance.
I think it's more exciting, and also it's because I don't think it's spoiled as much as, like, I know what you're saying about how people are, you know, they get all the episodes at once, but people are kind of used to mystery, but it's also, I think it's the MCU, you know, people want to know, how does this fit? And now this finally is giving you, okay, this is 3 weeks after Endgame. This is before Far From Home, which led to a lot of people's theories. People think that the J. Jonah Jameson we see at the end of Far From Home is actually from the Sony universe.
He absolutely is. They said as much.
Okay, well,
I forgot who specifically, but they said as much. It's the same motherfucker.
Okay, so is Wanda kicking that off? So that's what I'm saying. Is WandaVision happening? And then we've already seen the effects of Far From Home.
She's merging the Sony universes into the MCU universe. Since
there you go.
I mean, that would be the in-story explanation for the purchase Disney made.
And then we would also see the madness of the multiverse coming up. And we already know that Quicksilver from the X-Men is going to show up in this in WandaVision. You know, allegedly at least. We think
allegedly.
Pretty much 99%.
I seen him on the IMDb. I don't know. And remember, IMDb is active, so they be changing that shit all the time.
Changing that all the time.
But it said, at the time I saw it, it said 2 episodes.
Yeah, so we shall see what happens with him. And that means, because he's known as a mutant, and if he comes in and is like, you know, I come from Professor Xavier's school, I'm a mutant. Oh, you're my, you know.
That would be the first time the MCU heard the word mutant.
You know, that's
Elizabeth, my heart is going to stop when that happens.
Yeah, we out of here right then. All right, let's get into these Easter eggs real quick so we can finish this show up.
Yeah. Also, no commercials this episode. In the actual show, the WandaVision show, we do see that commercial from episode 2 playing again. That Hydra Watch commercial.
I was curious how Darcy just seemed to ignore that commercial too, which bugged me out because, like, come on now, like that's something you should be paying attention to when Hydra shows up. But you know,
remember, she was invested in the character in the show.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Come on, you gotta pay attention to everything, Darcy.
Easter eggs and inspirations. Go.
Yep. The aspect ratio is back to widescreen since we're out of the WandaVision. It quickly switches back to the 3x4 when we see Darcy watching it, and when the camera goes in on Wanda after Darcy stops watching, it goes to the 3x4, but then switches quickly back to 16:9 again because it's back to the MCU style when Wanda uses her powers to eject Geraldine on out. And like we said before, it's the real powers instead of that, you know, smoke and nonsense or practical effects. We get back to CGI effects. Sword was founded by Maria Rambeau. Also, when we first see the Sword base, we see that Sword has their symbol in the lobby, just like S.H.I.E.L.D. had their symbol in the lobby before. We see the big screens showing all the reactions to the blip. And something I noticed is Sword has a gigantic hangar. Like, I mean, a stupid size hanger.
It's dumb big.
Dumb big. Bigger than the building that they're in. And that looked dumb big when you see it from the interior. So they are obviously on some Fantastic Four, building some ship that can go, you know, to the next level. So we'll see what that's all about.
And that's just the on-world, the on-Earth headquarters view. Because technically Sword is in space. They have, at least in the comics. In the comics and the animation, they have a gigantic space station.
Which is called the Peak. And is that the Peak being built in there at this point?
Could be.
A year later in Far From Home, is Fury on the Peak right now when we see him in that post-credit sequence?
My nigga, could be.
You know? All right.
Could be.
We talked about this cosmic background radiation, how it's like the TV screen, how the longer... the longer wavelengths of it. Yeah. Yes, is what creates the TV screen that we can watch on old school TVs, et cetera, et cetera. Also, that it comes from the Big Bang and the Infinity Stones. You know all that. Wanda got that in her. That's what made the field. That's what made everything. That's what Wanda got going on.
And then I was thinking, like, the fact that not just you have that energy field has high levels of CMBR, but then they said intertwined in that is that one lone signal, right? That old school analog broadcast signal. And to me, I thought, well, is that the signal of Wanda's life force? Because the anomaly takes the form of, you said perhaps it could be her childhood memories, how she grew up, the shows she used to watch when she was in Sokovia, wherever she was from. Maybe she watched American shows that highlighted American life at that time, and maybe that's what she thought a perfect life would be, and that's part of her illusion. Is this considered Wanda's universe then? That's what I was thinking.
Interesting. Good questions right there. We also see when Darcy pulls out her first thing to watch this on, what is called on the show a Physioscope by Lexington Instruments. We've always seen this joint in mad old school movies. I mean, super old school, like 1950s, 60s. You'll see these type of instruments and stuff. We don't know exactly what it's called. If anyone out there does, let us know. Hit us up in the comments. Hit us up on socials.
Like, it has a real name, and I cannot remember what it's called. Like, it's the thing that measures frequencies, and as Benhameen said,
spectrograph.
I don't know, but like when you Google physiograph, nothing pops up. Nothing of related pops up. But let me see something, because I'm apparently that Lexington stuff can also be a reference to a comic book character called Alexander Lexington. They appeared in X-Men Volume 2, which is number 178, and they're a mutant who serves in the military.
Got me.
It could be. Supposedly it's also related to House of M. It could just be a one-off type of reference, but the point is why they named it that means something.
Definitely.
Monica's drone is also important in terms of Easter eggs. Why is that?
Yes, it's painted in Captain Monica's colors, the red, yellow, and gold that actually she chose for her. I mean, the red, gold, and blue that Monica chose as a child. She told her these are the colors you need to rock. Mm-hmm. So she puts it on the drone. It's also numbered 85. The drone is numbered SR-57 for the first appearance of Vision in the 57th issue of Avengers. The truck that Monica's driving is numbered 8512 for the 1985 12 issue limited series that we've talked about before by Steve Englehart. Where
Vision, that's a deep cut.
Deep cut. And those numbers have been referenced before. We talked about that 12 issue series, which is when Wanda and Vision moved to a New Jersey town to try and live a normal life, and when they first have the twins.
So a lot of the numbers, not every number, but a lot of the numbers, the prominent numbers mean stuff in this show.
All right. Now, the last reference is the dreaming of the white vision that we were talking about before. As we've seen before in Infinity War, when Thanos removes the Soul Stone from Vision's forehead, he turned into this gray, dead version of Vision. Now, the comic book, we see this again when he, in this quick, brief, horrifying flash in this episode, in episode 4. The comic book reference of this is in West Coast Avengers in he appears as the White Vision in 45, but I think I would say in issue 43 or 44, he gets disassembled. Vision gets drawn into this trap by these people. I can't even remember who they were. It doesn't really matter. They, draw him into this trap and completely disassemble him, take him completely apart. And that's when you see that he has organs and stuff inside of him. And a skin and all that, which led me to believe that my man, got a penis and all that. But that's a whole nother story. Because the author of these issues, author and artist John Byrne, did not believe that. And this is why he wanted to do this. Because he wanted to keep Vision and Wanda separated. Because he's like, he's a toaster.
He never liked them together.
He never liked them together. He always hated that. He's a type of guy who the stuff that he was raised on is how he feels like it should be. And when he was coming up, they weren't together. And Vision was this inhuman, artificial type dude. He was not the Vision that we know and love, right?
Right.
So when they reassemble him, they cannot manage to put him back together, Humpty Dumpty, the same way. He doesn't have that emotion, and he comes back drained of color, and he is this completely all white Vision.
Oh, wow.
Like, outfit, everything, all white Vision, and he's back to that inhuman where he has the memories of his marriage to Wanda, but none of the emotion behind it. So he can't even like, not even the conception of marriage made sense to him, because he's just this robot now. So that's what they're referencing with this issue, with this white Vision and this inhuman. And people are thinking that we might see a version of this coming. I like the Red Vision, and I'm loving what Bettany's been doing with the emotion, so I would not want to see this. So hopefully it's just a quick reference and not, where we're headed. Just like I do not want to see Evil Wanda. Oh my God, please don't do it to me.
Are you kind of seeing Evil Wanda right now?
I'm seeing it, but I feel like it's the red herring. I feel like that whole, Wanda's behind everything. This is going to be House of M, Evil Wanda, and Wanda's to be the villain in Doctor Strange, which is what some people have been saying. I
mean, right now she's technically the villain. She's technically kidnapped people. Technically, she has. She's kidnapped people. People are missing. These are real people who are in this dream world.
I don't want to see it.
Listen.
Wizak.
Let's talk about the music then.
All right, the music in this episode, not much, but really dope choices. Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child, Slight Return, one of the greatest pieces of guitar work ever recorded. I mean, just Jimmy being Jimmy, absolutely destroying everything. But this is heard at the end of the episode as Vision's given that "what the hell's going on" look, and help me. But the lyrics that are heard over the credits are, "If I don't meet you no more in this world, then I'll meet you on the next one, and don't be late, don't be late." That's the specific part that we hear, if I don't meet you no more in this world, meeting them in the next one. Are they all dead? Is everyone in this town dead? We don't know. From Wikipedia, the song is described as a perfect example of how Hendrix took the Delta blues form and not only psychedelicized it, but cast an even more powerful spell by delivering the lyric in the voice of a voodoo priest. So the song is a spell. The song is about a voodoo priest. Voodoo is traditionally associated with necromancy and the dead.
Magic.
It's
Voodoo.
getting dark. It's getting dark and sad right now. Real sad.
Darkness is spreading.
If it ends with Vision dead again, y'all. Yeah, this review right here. The man's mad.
But you know what? We say again, but truth is he's already dead.
Facts, but he's already back.
Dead.
No.
And what's the last song?
We heard a little snippet of "Help Me, Rhonda" again by the Beach Boys, the same song as heard, in the earlier episode. Once again, we see the other side of that when Agent Woo is trying to break through to the other side and talk to Wanda, and we hear the song again that he interrupts, and once again, with his voice coming through, we hear to "Help Me, Wanda" instead of "Help Me, Rhonda." Mm-hmm. Very dope, very, very dope. Just very smooth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is our full review of episode 4 of WandaVision.
We did it.
We know we crammed a lot into a little bit of space, but we actually did really well.
Yes.
If you have any other theories you want to discuss with us, or you want to just go into more depth about something we said already, please make sure you do a few of the following things. Make sure you're following us on all socials. We're at ForAllNerds. We're on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/ForAllNerds. We're on Instagram heavy. We're on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. We're everywhere. We're everywhere you are. Mm-hmm. It's not like a Discover Car commercial, but anyway, make sure you are subscribed to us on our podcast, so you can actually listen to this in the first place. We're on all of your favorite podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. We're all there. Make sure you're following ForAllNerds. And if you appreciate what you heard, you want to help us continue to bring you the magic, please consider supporting us at our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/ForAllNerds. And be sure to follow us as well. I'm Tatiana King.
I'm DJ Benhameen. And also make sure you're peeping us live broadcast every Monday on twitch.tv/ForAllNerds. And once again, we still need a name for this podcast.
Need a name. We still need...
We got no merch.
Right, because we have an amazing TeePublic store. That's teepublic.com/stores/ForAllNerds. We have incredible designs there from all of our previous review shows, from the ForAllNerds brand itself, and the inclusion of Revolution design, which I love. I already got 2 more things from there. Nice. But as Benhameen said, we need some merch for this particular show. So help us name the show. We already have a few names that we've been thinking about, but we weren't 100% sold on it yet.
No, none of them. So we need that name, something, and it's not just about WandaVision. We will be covering Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I just looked it up today, y'all. This WandaVision is 9 episodes long. It'll end in March, the first week of March, and then there'll be a week off, and then boom, right into Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So Disney Plus is not playing. We will be here for all of that. So this is an MCU-centered podcast. So we need an MCU name, because whenever Black Widow does drop, whenever Eternals drops, we'll be reviewing those. We might do some retro reviews and go back and talk about old MCU things. It's a lot of potential here. So
lots of potential.
Stay locked. Deuces.